Hey guys, Albert here from Heroic Self Coaching. In this video I'm going to talk you through the process of making your first jump and how you can use that and parkour as a way of building up some confidence. So this is going to be for you if you'd like to build up some more confidence but you don't really know how, and perhaps the idea of parkour does appeal to you, or you'd like the idea of starting some parkour but you haven't really known how to get started and you've not had that confidence to just have a go at it. Well, the first thing that will often come to mind when we think about parkour is there's videos online of people doing epic jumps and things like triple backflips, and those can be really inspirational. You can think, oh wow, I'd really love to do that, but there's a downside to those sometimes to those videos, which is the feats in those videos are so far beyond the average person that you can get this feeling of that's cool, but that's never going to be possible for me. And that's the downside of the internet, because when you watch those videos, what you don't see is the years of practice those people have put in prior to that point, all the takes and shots and editing it took to make something look that cool and that crisp, and also their emotional process that they went through the first time they did that jump. They will be experiencing some fear and anxiety the first time for those jumps as well, and it's that exact same process that you will feel when you make your first jumps, and that's what we're going to go through in today's video, is those emotional processes of making your first jump. So follow through, watch these tutorials, and if you would like any extra help with this process, click the link in the description. It'll take you where you can book a call and we can talk through this one-to-one. I can give you any additional help that you might need. Well, so before we get started, this video is aimed for you if you're actually already comfortable with the idea of just doing a jump on flat ground like a hop or something similar. But if that idea is a bit imposing to you, whether you've not taken part in any physical activity for a long time, or something in your head makes that idea scary for you, I will link to another video that I'll do which will lead you through an activity on flat ground that will build you up to a point where you're comfortable with jumping. Then you can come back to this video and work on doing a jump to a target and going through that process of making your first big jump. Alright guys, so the first step you need to do in making a jump is finding a jump that's going to be a good challenge for you. It doesn't have to be anything big, but what we want to do is actually find something that you're going to jump to that's a target, and hopefully something that's a little bit raised off the ground. So this log here is about a foot high, even a curb will do, but ideally you want to be jumping to something that's at least a little bit off the ground, because then your body will associate there being more of a risk with missing the jump, so that will elicit more of these emotions and help you deal through that process a little bit better. So this is a good one as a beginner jump, nice and low. The first thing you want to do before you even start jumping is check your target for what the grip's like on that day, how slippy it is, or anything like that, even if you know that jump well. So I train at this spot quite a lot, but it's been raining the last few days, so I want to stand on my target, check what it's like, see if it's slippier. I can just do a little hop onto it to check what that grip's like. Cool, so once you've established that your jumping target's got good grip, you can then go to measure up your jump. So just start that jump, start to walk backwards, and at some point you'll get a point at which you'll start to feel a little bit of apprehension at the idea of jumping to that target. Do take into account whether it's slippy or gripped or not, because that might affect things that your body, if you've not been doing lots of jumping, your mind isn't quite attuned to. So perhaps make that distance a little bit smaller if it is wet and things are slippy. But once you get to that point, again, you might be feeling that apprehension, perhaps butterflies in your stomach, a tightness of your breathing. You may actually feel that when you look at the log, your vision changes a bit, it perhaps zooms out. At that point, what you want to do is you want to try and calm yourself down. You might see some guys that'll psych themselves up to go and do the jump. That will work perfectly fine for these smaller jumps, but as you get more experience doing bigger things, that psyching yourself up, it's just going to lead to more chance of injury because you're going into a fight or flight response. You've got the adrenaline to do the jump, but actually your fine motor skills will disappear, so you'll be more likely to make little slips or mistakes. So a better approach is to calm yourself down. So the first thing to do is just relax your breathing, breathe from your stomach, let it go. And if just from that bit of breathing you feel you're a bit more comfortable, you can just make that first jump. And chances are the easiest way to do it is going to be 2 feet, jumping 1 foot first, and let both feet land together. And to begin with, don't worry about sticking that landing. Just get comfortable with the idea of getting to that spot. Now, if relaxing your breath, it's still a bit of apprehension, you can't bring yourself to do it. What we can then do is come to our breaking problems down situation, decreasing that anxiety a little bit, which you can then apply elsewhere. Like we said, this is about building up your confidence. So from here, you could simply take a slight step forward and then try it from here, again go through that process. Or you could start really close, make those jumps, and start slowly, just keep working yourself back. And what you're doing is you're inoculating yourself to the stress of this jump. And slowly you can work yourself back to your original position and you can see whether your response to that has changed at all. Again, slow down, calm your breaths, and see if you can make it. So the next thing to just think about, if that simple process of just deep breathing and breaking down the jump into smaller versions of it and building back up isn't enough, you can start to play a few more mental games. So obviously you can bring in your focus. So start to tune everything out, but you're also going to be tuning out those thoughts in your head, that doubt of whether you're going to make the jump or not, and literally just focus on the jump. Keep your focus on that target really tight. Keep that breathing down, and you can just wait. There's no need to rush this process. And once you calm down, you'll get to a point where you'll know something will just click. It's different for different people. I know one of my teachers, Ray Kelly, he talks about that zooming out when he can't make the jump and when he can make it, it comes close to him. For me, I get my perspective is a bit more like it doesn't necessarily zoom in for me, but it just becomes laser focused and everything else around blurs out. And when that moment happens, you want to jump in that moment. You may miss the moment, that's okay, but at that moment just make the jump and land it. So another option you've got available to you if the breaking down the jump into a smaller jump isn't working is you can jump the same distance near to or towards the target without actually aiming to land on the target. In this case, if I'm jumping from here to that target, like so, well that's going to be a bit much for me. What I can actually do is I can take another step back. So I'm going to be doing the same distance jump, but I'm going to be landing just in front of the target. Okay, so a lot of that fear and apprehension will have gone because there's no risk of falling if I don't make the jump now, and I can make the jump to there. You can build up that process, get comfortable with that, and as you're doing it, you start to tune in whether you're jumping high enough to get to the target, and if you're not, you can start to make that jump a bit more. Once you've done that a few times, you can then step back to your point and see whether your response to that jump has changed at all. And if it hasn't, you can bring yourself back in again, so you're now doing a smaller jump compared to what you've just been practicing. Once you've already made your jump, it's about sticking the landing. So sticking the landing means that you're going to land neatly. That wasn't a very good stick. But what it means is you're going to land neatly instead of landing and losing your balance or falling straight off or doing a big wobble like this. So a good stick will be landing and having a nice smooth position for a good, say, 3 seconds. That's kind of a standard, but again, this process isn't about standards, it's about what it means to you. So if in the day just getting that first jump, you feel calm, like you've achieved, that's the perfect win. Only just covering that sticking the landing, in case you made that first jump and you started to get frustrated with falling off. So as you're going through this process, you want to be watching you want to be aware of what's going on inside you regarding your emotions and things. There may be some frustration. You might be assuming that you should be able to do this. You might be beating yourself up from the inside. That's not going to help you make this jump. Through this process, you want to be kind to yourself. You want to watch your frustration, and that's a good sign that getting frustrated when something is difficult for you is your habitual pattern, as your habit elsewhere in life. So again, you just relax, calm yourself down, rebuild that pattern, be nice to yourself, because at the end of the day, if you don't make this jump, there's no real consequences apart from what what the voice inside your head is going to be telling yourself. So if you can get that voice to be calm and quiet, there's no consequences if you don't make this jump today. You can come back tomorrow or the next day, keep trying. You just want to be kind to yourself. Again, it's body language bit, so if I keep going, let me see it, I'll stop clenching my fist like big exhales. It's a good sign I'm getting frustrated. Maybe I should walk off for 5 minutes just to cool down. So go through this process, see which bits of that work for you. Before finishing, I just wanted to give you some examples of what this might look like if you're doing it in a bit more of an urban area. So here I've got a nice curb. Curbs are great for this. So you can just look for them either edge of footpaths in parks, quiet parking areas, or on really quiet bits of road. This here is a parking bit for people working on this utilities building just behind me. Other objects that you might be able to use in parks and other urban areas include on sets of steps, you can use that bottom step as your target, that raised object for you. And if you're feeling a bit more confident with jumps, you could always use benches or just low walls that are about a foot off the ground. And really the process is exactly the same, so you want to start by just making sure your landing is going to be nice and grippy so you're not going to slip. You're just going to walk backwards till you find a good distance that starts to bring up those butterflies in your stomach, and then focus on it, go through that process, take some steps forward again if you need, and just break down that jump as much as you need to, running through those steps we went through previously. That's it for the tutorial parts of this video. Again, if you want any help with this stuff, or proceeding to other skills within parkour, developing that practice, you can click on that link in the description, book a call with me. We can go through things with your specific circumstances and what your goals are in terms of building up your confidence. Also, if you want to keep watching, you'll see me going through this process for a jump as a challenge for me, so you get to see that emotional process and that breakdown for a real jump as well. Hey guys, so just on the other side of that logged area, wanted to show you what this process looks like for real. So me going through those emotions, those processes with a bigger jump, one that is a challenge for me. So yeah, you just get a better sense of what it's like. But before we get started, just a bit of honesty on my part and truth that you need to be checking your landing. So my original idea was to jump from a bit down this log onto this stump. It's a bit wet today, so I thought, oh, let's just test it with some smaller jumps. So I jumped just on the edge of this to that log. It's quite an easy jump for me that I've done plenty of times. What happened was I landed on it, feet went out from underneath me, landed with my bum on the stump and hit my leg quite hard on the edge of this big log. And it took me a good few minutes to calm down and deal just with the pain of that injury. So yeah, lesson learned. Make sure that you are checking the things, especially when it's wet. Take your own advice. So yeah, that's gonna affect the jumps I do now. Everything's gonna be slippy and wet, so I can't jump as far. Just hurt myself. So actually my body's a bit in a bit of a flight or fight response, and that's gonna affect how confident I am with these jumps and what I can do. So this jump that I'm planning on doing, I'm having to do something a little bit different now because things are so slippy. I can't make those jumps to the stump because my feet are just going to slide out from underneath me. So I'm going to be doing the opposite. I'm going to go from the stump. Again, I need to be a bit careful because as you jump, your feet might slip a bit. I'm going to aim to go back to the target that I was going to be jumping from, which is this big log. Over here, there's a knot on it. So now I'm jumping up instead of down, and because I slipped as I was testing that stump, my shin really hurts. The effects when you have an accident like that is it knocks your confidence a bit, so I'm probably actually going to struggle with this jump a bit more than I would normally. But you just have to be honest with yourself in this process. If you're not honest and you're a bit foolish, you are going to get yourself hurt, like I just did. So if you're not feeling it, decrease your jump. Even if it's a jump that you were able to do yesterday, you might not be able to do it today at this moment. So again, I'm going to be jumping from that stump. My aiming to get onto this log here, but at the moment, like I said with that other example, that feels a little bit far from me right now. I'm not very happy or comfortable doing that. So I'm going to start by jumping to this other log here. It's a bit lower down, but it's a similar distance. There we go. So did you see my foot slip out from me underneath there? So again, that's telling me a 2-footed jump is a bad idea at this point in time, so I'm going to keep that step jump. Again, just breathing, try to calm myself down, lower my stress response. Again, that little slip elevates the stress levels again slightly, and see if I can get a little bit further back on this lower log. Cool. So getting a little bit further at the moment. Seems like I might not make that jump today, but what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to come closer to it, see if I can make it. So I'm a bit lower down now, inch my way forward till it seems doable. So that's about this distance. Keep taking those deep breaths out. And there we go. Got that. I can start just working myself backwards from there. Taking those steps back. Cool, so again, I bailed out of that one. I felt I wasn't ready. The other thing that I am aware of is in jumping in the wet, the more frequently you land on the object, the slippier it is going to start getting, so do be careful of that. I'm just going to give that distance another go. We're trying to stick those landings. If you notice then, I went for that step takeoff. Gives that bit more, gives you a bit more power. So it's a way of starting to make that jump if you can't do it two-footed, and you've got one foot already getting close to the object before the second one leaves the ground. So I'm actually making that distance now, sticking the landing as well. I am using the step takeoff, but for the moment that feels right. My body's still a bit from just hitting my leg earlier, and to be honest I don't feel like I'm making that distance. In fact, I'm making a bigger jump because it's the same distance jump but from lower down, but with the slip off this this takeoff on the stump. I don't think it's a good one for today, so I'm going to come back to it another day when it's dry. And sometimes, like I said, you just have to deal with that. There's a little bit of frustration through that process. For me in this case even more so because I'm filming it to show you guys. So it's not the biggest jump in the world. It might not even seem very impressive, but at the moment that's the best I can do in this situation. And I just have to sit with those emotions and process them and deal with them. And that's what this is all about, is getting used to your fear, getting used to looking a bit silly in public, perhaps if you do slip or fall, or someone thinks, what's that person doing? It's not a big jump. And just calming yourself down, getting used to all of those things, and building yourself up over time, building your confidence up over time. Hope that process was helpful, and I'd love to hear any comments if you guys have used these steps to start making your first jump.